Okay. I'm with Thomas Jacob, who is with Associated Newspapers, publisher of the Daily Mail, and who has just launched recently a joint venture in India called Mail Today, done in association with
India Today.
India Today. Speak loudly because people can hear. We were just doing a count of newspapers launching in India, and within the last year, there have been 5 newspapers?
Starting from 2005, the last 3 years, we had about 4 new titles being launched. It started with DNA, which is a broadsheet launched out of Mumbai.
Okay, well, basically, in the last
3 years.
3 years, 5 newspapers.
Yeah.
Why is India so ripe for newspapers? Everywhere else in the world, they're cutting back, they're losing advertising. What's going on?
There are several factors. If you look at the Indian economy, it's something like what happened in the UK 100 years back when Daily Mail was launched. The Indians are now enjoying a lot of disposable incomes. They're having higher wages. They are eating out. They're spending money on consumables. So that means the ad spend for this middle market, the emerging middle market, is growing tremendously. When we looked at the numbers for one of the cities, we found it used to grow at a rate of 23% compounded annual growth rate, which means every 3 years the ad pie is doubling. So obviously that's a very lucrative market for a publisher. And another fact is that India's GDP is growing, there's a retail revolution happening, and the country, as it is, it's got a very young demographic. It's got about 62% people younger than 32 years of age. So that's a very lucrative audience to go after.
Okay, so and one thing you were saying also before was that not only are there new publications being launched from zero, which is the ones you just mentioned, but also established publications are expanding into new markets and starting in new places.
Right. Two things are happening in India. So on one side, you have the greenfield operations, new startups like DNA, Mumbai Mirror, and Mail Today. On the other hand, we have established newspapers, which is moving from one city to another. In some ways, the Indian market resembles the American market. We used to have very dominant brands in each city. For example, we had Times of India from Mumbai, Hindu from Chennai, Deccan Chronicle from Hyderabad, and so on. But what has happened recently is all of them started to move to another metro. For example, Deccan Chronicle started from Hyderabad, moved to Chennai recently, and now they have announced move to Bangalore.
Okay, I've got a problem with this. We're talking about the era of the death of newspapers. We're talking about, beyond print. India, if any country symbolizes the, move to outsourcing and technical abilities, it's India. Aren't these people going to go online?
Oh, that's a very good question. But one thing what a lot of people don't realize is, India has got a very IT savvy young group of people. But when you look at people with broadband internet connections, the number is extremely low. For example, in India, we have about 250 mobile customers, whereas the broadband may be 1 or 2 million. There are a lot of different numbers being floated around, but I think it would be more close to about 1 million or 1.5 million compared to the total number of internet users, which is 40 million. So obviously, there are not too many people who's going online to read. Most of them are using it for either for searching for jobs, and majority of them are looking at even the marriage sites, which are very popular in India. So they're going onto the web for some specific activity, not to really consume news, because it's so easily available in India on the street, and that too for a very small price.
So in other words, the internet is not an information source because there's not enough broadband.
That's one of the reasons. And the second reason is Indian papers are priced extremely low. So it's even cheaper to buy a paper than buy a carton of milk. For example, in India, most of the newspapers are priced at around 2 rupees to 3 rupees, which in terms of, let's say, penny, be about 2p to 3p range, which is extremely cheap.
Okay.
So that's the best browser and you can
cheap
buy.
And you don't have to go, cheap, it's almost the price of a browser.
Right.
Okay, last point. What are you trying to do to reach this market? What is your unique selling point, the Mail Today?
Right. The unique selling point for Mail Today is the business model which we have used from Daily Mail. Daily Mail is a 100-year-old newspaper from the UK whose strength is the single-minded focus on the middle emerging, not emerging, but the mid-market, or what we call the modern mid-Britain. So they focus on the segment that is, Daily Mail has done extremely well because of the single-minded focus. And what we believe, this model could be applied to the emerging middle class in India, which is growing at a phenomenal rate. And at the moment, there are no newspapers which are tailored specifically to this group of people. And that we think is an opportunity.
Okay, so tailoring it for that middle group.
Middle class, emerging middle class.
Okay, and you launched in November,
That's right.
and how's it going?
Well, the reader response has been pretty good. One thing you have to understand is it's a totally new product for India. Indians have been used to this broadsheets, which are fairly what you call long stories and verbose, and it's not very attractive to the youngsters. Whereas Mail Today would be addressing this group with a very well lively newspaper with the mix of shade, hard news, soft news, and so on. This light and shade concept, which has worked very well for us in the UK. And so far, the early response has been very encouraging.
Okay, so you argue that you're actually inventing a market.
We are really creating a new segment of readers which has not been catered for yet.
Okay, excellent. Well, good luck.
Thank you.